Welcome back, everyone. Brand new spoiler movie review here on Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Dinnerberg. Today, we're going all things plot specific spoilers for Alien Romulus. It just came out on Friday, but it said in my official non-spoiler review that I need to get some things off my chest and really talk about the movie in full spoiler fashion. So welcome to the channel. If you're new, I talk all things movies, TV. I do a movie franchise rankings, which will include Alien. I'll let you know about that in just a second. A box office breakdown show every single Tuesday and out of theater reactions. So please subscribe, ring the bell, comment down below. What are your spoiler thoughts on Alien Romulus? Did the ending work for you? Did it not? What would you want to see out of a sequel with this creative team? Let me know in the comment section down below. And also, please like the video. The thumbs up button helps YouTube's algorithm out to get me out to more new people. So, as I said, I did a non-spoiler review. If you're just coming in here to see my general thoughts, if you didn't see my out of theater reaction or non-spoiler review, I really liked Alien Romulus. I didn't love Alien Romulus. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, but really like a 75% right at the beginning of the 4 out of 5 stars. I think there are, again, the tension, the buildup, the aesthetic, the gore that Fede Alvarez brought to this movie really worked. The fact that the movie went back to its original roots, making it more of a horror film than a sci-fi action film, I was all cool with that. The two lead performances are really good, so I really enjoyed the movie. But most of my negatives are down to spoilers, and I was trying to tiptoe that in my non-spoiler. I finally have a chance to do a spoiler review. Also, before I get started with my full spoiler review, I do want to say that I am doing a full ranking of the Alien franchise. That video will be out on Monday. I'm not including Alien and Predator on that list. I'm just including the main Alien films, talking all things Alien franchise. So come back to the channel on Monday for that franchise ranking. So let's get into spoilers of Alien Romulus. So right away at the beginning of the movie, I watched like one trailer, the main trailer for Alien Romulus, not really the other ones. So I did not know, again, spoiler warning, if you've not seen Alien Romulus, here we go. That I did not know that Andy, the character of Andy, who's played by David Johnson, is a robot, a synthetic. And I thought that was, again, there's always got to be a synthetic. Synthetics have honestly been one of the stronger elements of every Alien film, maybe other than Resurrection. You had Ash, Bishop, obviously you had Winona Ryder's character in Resurrection, and then you had Fassbender's two synthetics in Prometheus, and it is two in Covenant. And once again, I thought that they did a really good flip reversal on the relationship between a synthetic and a human. Obviously, in the first film, the main villain is Ash, we'll get to later in this video, played by Sir Ian Holm. Devastating villain. It was really a good twist on the movie. The second movie, Bishop, is one of the heroes of Aliens. The fact that, obviously Ripley didn't trust him, and then the fact that he comes through at the end. Then you move into Resurrection. I didn't really like the confusing element of Bishop being either human or not. Winona Ryder will move on, but even David is he's the ultimate villain of Ridley Scott's two prequel films. So now moving into this one, we kind of get as in the movie is, a brother and sister relationship between Rain and Andy. And I thought it was by far and away the strongest aspect of the film. Andy's kind of a deteriorating, malfunctioning synthetic who's kind of on his last legs. Rain doesn't tell him before this mission starts, but Tyler tells him on the mission that the colony that they're going to does not allow for synthetics. So all along the way, he won't make it to this peaceful utopia colonization place, which Rain does not tell him. And I just felt for the android. I did. I felt for him. I felt for the relationship between Rain and Andy. I think some people are trying to make it like it was kind of romantic, or and maybe it was. I really believed that they were brother and sister. And the franchise has been very philosophical in a lot of aspects. I think this movie did a really good job philosophical about what makes a human, what makes you care about something else that maybe isn't human. And I really enjoyed the dynamic, and obviously Johnson and Spaney really delivered in the film. Now, there's a big moment in the movie with Andy's character, which is his dynamic with Bjorn, who's played by Spike Fern, which is Bjorn does not like android synthetics at all. Now, at the beginning of the movie, I was quite annoyed by this character because they weren't, again, explaining why he would hate Andy. But they did a really good explanation in the script from Bjorn on why he wouldn't like androids. And that's the fact that his parents were in a situation where they were trapped, but it was up to a synthetic to make a decision on saving little people, but I mean, a couple people, or saving more people than were trapped. And in that case, the other option was killing the other people and to save, thousands instead of hundreds of people. So that, in fact, sacrificed Bjorn's parents, which means he just, and again, yes, that synthetic probably made the right decision, but if you put yourself in Bjorn's shoes, you probably wouldn't like synthetics as well. So that explanation really worked. I think it took too long for them to get to that explanation, but once it was there, it made a lot more sense. So I'm going to talk about my biggest issue, the major nitpicks of the movie, and that is the return of Sir Ian Holm in CGI AI mode as Rook, but just a version, the android of Ash from the original Alien. Now, sadly, Sir Ian Holm passed away in June of 2020. So the moment I saw him, I already felt weird. I don't love seeing actually, dead people in real life being used in CGI. We saw that, and that's why this movie's getting a lot of comparisons to Rogue One, because obviously they brought back Peter Cushing as Tarkin, and that is one of the major issues with that movie for a lot of people and how disturbing. It definitely felt like early 2000s CGI with this. It was never believable to me. Now, from a story perspective, similar to Rogue One's story, you need Tarkin in it. Just now, I'll say that you need a Tarkin a lot more than you needed Ash here. But again, this movie takes place 20 years after the events of Alien, 37 years before Alien. So the droid, we don't even get to Bishop yet. We're still in the era where the droids all look like Ian Holm. So I get why from a character, a story perspective and a character perspective, he's in the movie. I just didn't think it was executed well from a CGI perspective. It just did not look good. It never felt real. And I think they're trying to get away with that with the excuse of you have to suspend your disbelief because it is an android. But I really couldn't suspend my disbelief too much with that. Having Ian Holm here made sense from a story wise, was not executed very well. But we all want to talk about kind of the back half of the movie. Now, even before that, I wish the crew had a little bit more to them than kind of just one or two quality. He had the leader, he had a sister who was pregnant, you just had someone who runs the ship. They were kind of just like one note characters really outside of Rain and Andy. And yes, you can even look back at Aliens, that maybe you can say Hicks and Hudson were kind of one note, but those actors maybe, especially me, didn't make me think they were one note characters, and I don't think they were one note characters. So I wish that the crew itself, because it felt like Navarro, Bjorn, Tyler, felt like just bait and we're going to be killed by the xenomorph. So you get the face hugger scene was really cool. The scene where they go from the gravity when they, when Rain shoots all the xenomorphs and their blood comes out, but they do the gravity pull where all of the hot blood, that breaks through anything, is in the air so they can avoid being burned. Felt that was really a smart, well-conceived scene. There's a couple really good jump scares in the film that I really enjoyed. Again, going back to that sacrifice from an android perspective, Andy does not save Kay when she is stuck with the big xenomorph. I think they did a really good job with that. There always needs to be a pregnant character. They did something very similar with Kay that they did with the main character, Numi Rapace's Elizabeth Shaw in Prometheus, where now that's a big element in the movie, which I'm about to get to in a second. But those are two very similar characters that, Shaw was the main character of Prometheus, while Kay is very much a side character. She's really sidelined for the first half of the movie. She tells Rain that she's pregnant, and then she falls asleep for the remainder, for like that second act of the movie. Love Isabel Merced. She's very good in the movie. Just wish she was in it maybe a little bit more. As we move forward here, she is obviously pregnant. She's attacked. She's taken to the cocoon, which I'm really happy they continue with. I think with her, especially Alien 3 and Resurrection, was the fact that the xenomorph were just blatantly just killing people. After the setup of Alien and Aliens was that they were just taking them to the cocoon to use them as eggs to birth more xenomorphs. And that's what happens here. They save Kay from, the cocoon that she was in. They tell her that they have to rush back to the ship to put her in the cryo sleep to get her back to a place where they can get medical attention for her. Because she can make it through cryo sleep. Because that's why they go on this mission, is to find these cryo chambers where they can go to their place. Which again, made total sense. The horror element really worked. So as we get back, as they save her, Tyler gets killed in a probably the goriest scene, one of the gory scenes in the movie, where he just gets his head eaten by the main xenomorph. We get a lot of xenomorphs, a lot of face huggers, a lot of the creatures in this film. Obviously, we get the corporation back in fray here in this film as well. And the fact that obviously their whole goal is to get one of these aliens back to them to do tests, and that's what we see later in Alien Resurrection. But we do learn that the alien that Ripley shoots out was not killed by just flying in space. They found the xenomorph, and that's a big help in this movie. And the fact that they do kind of destroy all of the xenomorphs on this ship leads them to wanting to find another planet with these creatures in Aliens. Because again, if they left some of these xenomorphs alive in this film, then the search for more in Aliens would not make much sense 57 years after the events of Alien. So the big element as well that's connecting to the prequel film Prometheus is in the film Prometheus, we saw that David, the character played by Michael Fassbender, gives Logan Marshall's Green character, he kind of tricks him into taking a shot, but it has that kind of black goo, that DNA of the xenomorphs. And what he does is he gave it to Logan Marshall Green, who then had sex with Shaw, which then led to her, even though she was not supposed to be able to be pregnant, she got pregnant and birthed that xenomorph that she takes out in the medical machine. Sorry, Holloway is his character, Logan Marshall Green's character. So in this film, Andy tells Kay that this is the only way that you're probably going to live. So as she's on the ship about to prepare, she does take the shot, which they call the Prometheus 5 in this film. So obviously connecting things. So knowing that that isn't going to save her, but that is actually going to birth, as we see in this movie, a combo of a human and a xenomorph. So as throughout the film, Rain saves Andy, and Rain's plan is to not abandon Andy on this mission for him to make it and for her to fix him. Because again, he's like a malfunctioning android. She puts the right chip back in towards the end of the movie. And as in every Alien movie, we get a fourth act. And this is what everyone is talking about with this film. So basically, it looks like we're all going to be very happy following the ending of this movie, which is we're down to Rain, Andy, and Kay. You feel like they have survived. The elevator dropped on all those xenomorphs. They're back on the ship. Kay has taken the thing. But again, if you're an alien fan, you know that something isn't going to go right with that, especially after they call it Prometheus 5. And also, sorry, but before we get to that, we do get a callback line where Andy does say Ripley's line from Aliens. Did not work for me. I didn't feel like an android would be the one to say that. First of all, the line, I don't think it was, if it was fan service for fan service, I did not enjoy that. But guess what? My theater clapped after that line. So obviously it worked for some people. It's the most iconic line for me in this entire franchise. Even Root, who is again the version of Ash, also keeps repeating his line from Alien, where they're the perfect specimen, and I have your sympathies. He just repeats his lines from Alien. It didn't fit for me. I just felt more again like fan service and actually fitting into the plot. Again, my theater really enjoyed it. I might be in the minority. That's what it is. So we get to the fourth act, and that is that Rain puts Kay in the cryosleep, about to put Andy in the cryosleep as well. She's about ready to go as well, to go to the cryosleep and head on their way to this planet, which takes, they said, 9 years to get to. But Kay's kind of having this seizure, and she opens up, and obviously know after she injected the Prometheus 5 that she's now birthing this creature, and it is a mixture of a human and a xenomorph. Now, obviously, this thing kills Kay, gets thrown out of the blast, just like the original xenomorph did in Alien. Now, what I'll say here is this: they tried the half-human, half-xenomorph blend in Alien Resurrection. Now, that thing in Alien Resurrection looks horrible, not intimidating, horrible. And I'm not a big fan of that movie, as you'll see in my ranking video on Monday. But that creature did not look good. I didn't feel the emotion when Ripley's like emotionally crying as she kills her own kid, her own offspring. And the creature itself just doesn't look threatening whatsoever. Now, this creature did. I've never been sold on the human xenomorph, the plot line. We know Sigourney Weaver, it's history that she wanted that in her contract when she was doing Alien 3. They obviously didn't do an Alien 3, they did it in Resurrection. I don't love the storyline. Now, yes, are you just gonna keep doing xenomorphs the whole time? I totally get it. Or deacons or face huggers the whole time. I totally get it. It worked better, a lot more in this film than it did in Resurrection, but it's still just it didn't totally do it for me. The creature itself, they weren't trying to show a lot of shots, especially in the daylight. It didn't look great, but it looked passable, I think, for this film. And obviously at the end, Rain, blasted away. I think we're clearly setting up for more films with this creative team, because they did keep Rain and Andy alive. And obviously we know when you go to cryosleep, doesn't mean you actually go to any destination. Ripley was found at the beginning of Aliens. Ripley was found again in the beginning of Ripley, Hicks, and Newt were found at the beginning of Alien 3. So, and then obviously they went up finding David and the dead Elizabeth Shaw in Covenant. So I don't know if they have not announced another film. I think if they do, we'll see if Fede Alvarez remains on. Alvarez was very heavily involved, as he isn't just the director, but he's also the executive producer and co-writer of the script. So as I said, the CGI and the return of Ian Holm didn't really sit well with me, both because obviously, hopefully his family agreed to having his likeness used in the film. But the CGI wasn't believable. It pulled me out of his scene, sadly. The forced recalling lines just felt like forced callbacks for a cheap applause, in my opinion, that just didn't work for me. I wish the crew had a little bit more into them as it pertains to story. But as I said, the movie was very scary. I think it's easily the scariest film since Alien. Um, Haley Spaney and David Johnson were the heart and being soul of this movie, and they both were terrific. Their dynamic was very strong. Performances were great. I was very much engulfed into their uh, sibling, even though one's an android and one is human. The fourth act, I like the connection to Prometheus. Now, what I'll say is they go for big, bashful ideas in the last 15 minutes. And I think the movie wasn't consistent with putting in the lore. It kind of felt like the first Alien, which is what about a haunted house based like movie in space, which is very similar to what the first Alien is, and that's very similar to what Romulus is. But at times, movie kind of flirts with exploring the lore and then kind of goes away, goes back to the horror element, and they really go all in trying to explain things in the last 15 minutes. I wish there was a little bit more consistency with the lore, and the twist of the human xenomorph just, again, when I was watching the last 15 minutes of this movie, I knew that it was going to be very divisive. Either people were going to love the direction of it or not like it. I don't hate it, but I'm not someone who's want to see more like 10 human xenomorphs fighting them. I don't think it's believable. I'm not a big fan of the storyline. I don't hate it. I hated it in Resurrection. I don't hate it here in Romulus, but if they continue on, it seems like that's the path they're going to be going down. I think this was actually a good spot in the timeline to put a movie in between Alien and Aliens. There is the only time that we don't get in the live action movies. So I like that as well. I'm all for another film, especially if they bring back, once again, Kaylee Spaney and David Johnson. I really hope they do and see that exploration continue. So I really liked Alien Romulus. I really did. I think it was a great return to form for the main franchise. Again, the prequel two films were very divisive within both critics and the Alien fans. And watching them again, I can definitely say that I can see why. But those did work for me more than not. And this film definitely worked for me a lot more than not. So I really enjoyed Alien Romulus. Again, it's not touching the original two, but I do think it has a really good spot here in the Alien franchise. And I want to see more films in this franchise. So that's my thoughts on Alien Romulus. Full spoilers. What are your thoughts? Is there something that you didn't like or loved? Let me know a scene, sequence, in the comment section down below. I'll talk to you guys soon, including an Alien franchise ranking on Monday.